All right, so this question is a bit tricky, but once you know how to solve this question, it becomes really easy. This question says two cities X and Y lie on a straight line. Two friends, Peter and Queenie, left simultaneously for Y and X from X and Y respectively. All right, so we have two two cities X and Y like this. They are on a straight line. We have Peter at X and we have Queenie at Y. They left simultaneously for Y and X from X and Y respectively. Alright, Peter starts moving in this direction and Queenie starts moving in this direction. They do so simultaneously. Peter reaches Y and immediately turns around and moves towards X. Now Peter moves like this. Alright, so Peter moves like this and Peter reaches Y. So Peter has reached this point Y and then he turns around and starts moving in the opposite direction and moves towards X. Alright. So this is the motion for Peter. On reaching X, again he turns around and moves towards Y. Now once he reaches point X, again he turns around and starts moving towards Y. So he keeps moving like this, keeps moving between X and Y. This kind of movement continues indefinitely. Queenie also travels in a similar manner. So Queenie moves from Y to X. Now once she reaches X, she turns around and moves towards Y. And then upon reaching Y, she turns around again and starts moving towards X. This kind of movement continues indefinitely. Queenie also travels in a similar manner. The distance between X and Y is 1000 meters. So this distance is 1000 meters and the ratio of the speeds of Peter and Queenie is 3:2. Find the distance traveled by Peter when he meets Queenie for the fourth time. Now, Peter, when they've started moving, Peter will move towards right, Queenie will move towards left, alright? And they will meet at some point over here. This is their first meeting point. When Peter is traveling like this towards right and Queenie is traveling towards left. This is the first meeting point. Now after meeting once, Queenie keeps on moving towards left. Alright. Queenie moves towards left and Peter moves towards right. Then Peter turns back and Queenie also turns back. And then they move like this. Alright. So this is Peter now. This is Queenie now. And they meet again over here. Alright. This is their second meeting point. Now again, they keep on doing like this and then they meet for the fourth time. We have to find the distance that Peter travels when they meet for the fourth time. Now if you observe carefully, when they meet for the first time, the two have together covered the distance that is xy, which is 1000 meters. All right. So when they meet for the first time, Peter travels some distance, Queenie travels some distance, and together they have traveled. So in the first meet together they have traveled 1000 meters. All right. Now once they meet, then Peter moves like this, Queenie moves like this. All right. And Queenie turns back and comes like this. Peter turns back and comes like this, and then they meet again. All right. So now if you see, what is the distance that they have together traveled? Peter has traveled like this. All right. Like this. This is the meeting point. Queenie has traveled like this. This is the meeting point. All right. This is Peter. This is Queenie. This is Peter and this is Queenie. All right. So Peter has traveled this distance one. Then he has traveled some part of this distance. And Queenie has traveled this distance one. And then she has traveled this some part of the distance. All right. So Peter has traveled 1000 plus, let us say that this is x. All right. And Queenie would have traveled 1000 plus If this is x, this would be 1000 minus x. Queenie would have traveled 1000 minus x. Alright, together they have traveled 3000 meters. So in the second meet, they have together traveled 3000 meters. Alright, now in the third meet, if you talk about the third meet, Peter would have traveled like this, then he would have traveled like this, and then he would have traveled like this. Alright, they would meet at this point. This is Peter. And Queenie would have traveled like this, then she would have traveled like this, and then she would have traveled like this. This is Queenie. Alright. So Peter has traveled 1000 plus 1000. Alright, this is 1000 plus this 1000, and then this distance x. So this is 2000 plus x traveled by Peter. Queenie would have traveled 1000 plus 1000 plus this would have been 1000 minus x. That is 2000 minus x. This is 3000 minus x. All right, 1000 plus 1000 plus 1000 minus x, that is 3000 minus x. So together they would have traveled 5000 meters, and this is their third meeting. So in the third meet, they have together traveled 5000 meters. Now if you see the trend over here, this is 1000, this is 3000, this is 5000. Similarly, in the fourth meet, they would have together traveled 7000 meters. All right, we have to find the distance traveled by Peter when he meets Queenie for the fourth time. We know this is the distance traveled by both of them together, that is 7000. All right, together they travel 7000 meter. We have to find the distance that Peter travels. Again, we'll consider traveling as doing work, and the rate of doing work is in the ratio 3:2. All right, so Peter would do 3 by 3 plus 2, that is 3/5 of this total work, and that would be equal to 7000 into 3 by 5, that is 7000 into 0.6, which is 4200 meters. All right, so what is the distance that Peter would have traveled when they meet for the fourth time? That distance would be 4200 meters, and that is the answer. All right, now this is how this question is done, but in order to do such questions quickly, let us make a result out of this. All right, and the result is that if we have two people approaching each other from two opposite directions, all right, this person is moving towards right, the other one is moving towards the left, then the first meeting would be when, and this distance is L, first meeting would be when together they have covered distance L. Second meeting would be when together they have covered distance 3L. Third meeting will be when together they have covered distance 5L. Fourth meeting will be when together they have covered distance 7L, and so on. All right, so this is the distance that is covered together, and then we can find their individual distances based on their speeds. But we can remember this result, and this holds true if only if they are approaching from opposite directions. All right, so we can remember this result. All right, I hope this question was clear.